Hi there, and welcome back. We're on our third segment of working with beginners on animals. In this case, we did do a little bird, we did our little kitten. You can see the little kitten over here where we started the kitten, or almost got most of the kitten done. Now we're going to go to the little birds, and I'll show you how to do those. First of all, you do not have to trace a baby bird. They're a pear shape. So when you get started, and here we go, we are going to show you how to do that very shortly, but I want to show you this little product right here so that you can hold on to your plate a little better. These plates are pretty slippery, okay? They are very slippery. So you're going to turn your plate over like this, and you're going to put this thing in the middle and push down on the handle and pull up. This is the handiest part of this thing, because once you get this little thing, you can put your hand through the back of it like this and paint on the front of it. And it will not go away from you. It will not be lost. It's just, it's stuck on your hand. It will stay for the entire painting time that you wish. You could even hold it from the outside if you need to turn it around or whatever. It's very convenient, very happy, very handy, and you can buy it at any hardware store. Okay. Now we're going to take this little baby bird, and we're going to start. We started with an outline here because they are pear-shaped. I drew a couple of pears basically, and put a beak on it. This little thing is done with a Stabilo pen. This is a very handy pen to use because you can draw on china with it and it's not going to move. Here's his little eye right there. This one is sleeping right here. So we have this one versus this one, and we just have this vague little outline and some place for the nest. Taking time to do tracing and trying to get that on there just right is really a pain in the neck sometimes. And there's always other things that we can do that is a lot more fun. One of them being painting. So we will take our brush. Here we go. And number 12 is helpful. This is a nice size. You can use yellow-brown to paint this with. You draw it, you're going to use yellow-brown to draw this with, and you just draw in your lines, or you can use the Stabilo pen like I have. Then you just take your tan that will mix with the yellow-brown and just start painting this little guy so that you have enough color on there that you can just fluff it in. Don't try to paint within the entire line area. You're just going to keep some lines on there. If you've got Stabilo pen on there, just go ahead and paint and fill the area a little bit. It doesn't have to be completely filled. It's not a coloring book kind of thing. You're just going to get some color on there so that you can start wiping out or working with the fur, or in this case, the feathers. You're going to leave a little bit in here for the wing, which is going to be white. So you can take your silk, you can come up into that and just give it a quick pull like so, and that is your wing right there. All right. The other bird sitting beside it gets the same kind of treatment. It's the same repetitious movement, except that you're going to have a bit of a shadow right here. You've got to make sure that that shadow is there to separate those two, because when they come out of the kiln, it's going to be very pale, okay? Getting the features right is really important. You work a lot to get the features correct, okay? The first thing that you do when you get the color on is to use a liner brush or a scroller like this one. You get a little bit of brown paint and you go into the eye and paint all the color into the eye. You may have to go back over this just a little bit. That's okay. On another fire. But in the meantime, you're going to do this and you're going to make a highlight in that eye that's going to be bigger than you need, so that you have this. Then you're going to go back to the beak area and you're going to work the beak like so and put your color in the beak. The beak also goes up into the face just a little bit, so leave a little bridge there. And you should have a nostril right about in here. Okay? This bird is smiling, so you may want to put that in right away too. And then you have to draw the bottom of the beak in here, like so. There's our little bird so far. Basically, that's all you're going to do. You're going to work on that little face, and then you're going to take your silk over your finger, or you can take a sponge, and you can take the sponge and go around the outside edge. The whole idea is to make him really soft and fluffy. Okay? He'll be darker until he gets to the edge, and then he gets very light. You will not have background on this fire, just the birds. And you have to get the features so that they're correct. And you're going to paint in some for the nest. So you're going to take some color to paint the nest. Just paint that in. It doesn't have to be perfect either, because it's a nest, and a nest is kind of irregular. So you're just going to put some color around the nest and so forth up underneath the body of the birds. And remember that in this particular bird, you're going to have a little wing right here, and you're going to have a separation between the birds. So you can bring this up into here like this. And then you're going to have this wing that comes down here like this. And it's going to come down over the top of the nest. So you'll take your wipeout tool right here, and you will push on the edge with the wipeout tool just a little. And then you'll tap that with the sponge so that you remove any excess and so forth. But your little wing will be sitting right here on top. Okay? Then you take your wipeout tool and you're going to go through this with this wipeout tool like so, bringing these little grasses and everything that the nest is made of right through this area. So it looks like this. It's kind of hard to see, but when you see this and you see this, you see what it's going to look like on first fire. And look how pale it is. It needs lots of extra attention when you get to this point, because you can't really see these little guys very well. So now we're going to take that brush on second fire. I mean, like I said, this is what you're building, and you don't have anything really on the first fire. You've established your nest and your birds, and it's pale. It's very pale. So you can do anything you want to the rest of it. So we're going to take this color now and add a little bit of yellow brown on second fire. And we're going to paint a shadow between the two of the birds with a little yellow-brown. See how that perks that up? Boy, that is a nice heavy color, isn't it? We will paint the center of the bird, or the shadowed area of the bird, and bring that around this fluffy little bird to the outside edge. And then we are going to soften that color like this, just like we did before, so that we stay soft with it. Bring some up on his head, around the front of his head, so that he gets even fluffier. And they're so fun. They're just a fun little thing to paint, you know. And it's wonderful to get a chance to paint like this, you know, because you're not painting all the time on the same subject matter. You're getting a chance to branch out and experience what it's like to paint things like little birds. Look at that little bird. Isn't he cute? He's a darling. And very softly. The color has to be soft because this is a baby bird, so he is very soft. We're going to add a little depth to his head. We're still leaving that little area around his head. We're not going to work with it quite as much this time because we want that to stay really, really soft. We're using soft colors. We're brushing them on softly, okay? And we're going to get this little dark area down here at the bottom of this little bird as he sits in the nest. Leaving a little white on his face is a good idea because the white will make the baby look much brighter, okay? It has a lot more impact. Okay, we will do this much on that bird, and then we are going to stop. Because what we need to do next is to work on the face. Normally speaking, with a bird or a portrait or an animal, you start with the face first. But when you draw them, you're going to do a little bit of work, and then you're going to start doing the eyes and the beak in this case, okay? We're going to take our liner, our scroller. We're going to get a little bit of black paint to go with our brown. We'll take the brown and mix it with black on our brush. Practice that a lot, mixing colors on your brush. You have a little more control about how much dark you want, and you soften it enough so that it doesn't get too harsh. Black can be very harsh, by the way. Come into the eye. The eye can be solid black, but because it already has a base. But we're going to take the black and put a little bit of brown in it so that it doesn't get carried away. Okay, we're going to do that eye. Paint the whole eye. Don't worry about that highlight that we left in there. We can make the highlight smaller. We can leave it the same if we like it. You know, whatever we want, it's going to be there. Get enough black on there so that it's the last color on your brush. Get that eye reshaped. Okay, so here we go. Here's our eye. Fill the whole eye with black with a tad of brown. Put the brown on the brush first. Then come back to the eye and get that eye filled with color. Oh, look at that. Wow. That little eye is really getting dark now, isn't it? Okay. Make sure it's nice and round. Then take your little pick, your little rubber pick, come back into that eye about where you saw that highlight before, and sharpen up that highlight just a little bit. Okay. Take some of the black again. Come back to the eye at the top. And then cut that highlight down just a little bit. Okay. There we go. Cut that down just a little bit. We want to get that nice and sharp. Okay, here we go. Anyway, our baby bird looks like this. Have to get that rubber pick and sharpen that highlight just a tad. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to take that same mixture and we're going to go to the beak. Oops. Oh boy. Oh. Flying brush. Anyway, we're going to take this beak and pull through the end of the beak and make it a little bit darker right out here. A little more black. We'll get that little nostril going. Here's our nostril. Maybe widen it out a little bit. Control it with the wipe out tool, the wedge end. You can just push that a little bit so that it makes it a little bit rounder. And then come up into his smile line. Go back to his smile line on the corner of the mouth and just give it a little push. He's a happy little guy, isn't he? So happy. Okay. What kind of bird is he? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. What's really important is that he's just a baby and he's fluffy. He's very fun and he's fluffy. Alrighty. He's pretty cute. Now we'll go to the other one. The other one also has some yellow brown. We're going to go to the top of his head and start by getting a little bit of color right in here in the front so that you can see him a little better. Bring that color around the top of his head. Okay. Turn it around a little bit so that you can get under his chin. And then bring that color up there, right under his chin. Bring it under his eye, just a little bit, and kind of pull it around the lower part of the cheek area so that he looks a little bit more full around the cheek, okay? Then we'll get some on the outside edge, like so, and kind of work that color so that he has a little more volume around him. You know, has a little more exciting look about him, okay? And we'll just kind of fluff in the color down here at the bottom, you know, because we want to make him a little more defined, but we want to make him fluffy too. So we're fluffing the brush. It's like feathering. You're fluffing the brush. You're just kind of making some short little strokes in there so that you can build this little bird, okay? Take a little more of this, and we can come actually down into the wings, okay? We'll bring that color down into the wings so that you can start to see the wings are starting to form here. And he's got his little fluffy down up in here too, because it's right at the top of his wing. But we will come down into his wing with a little bit of color. Okay? Fluff this around a little bit to build volume, make his body look heavier, make it more full, more rounded by bringing that color down into the bottom part of his body. There he is. And the end of the wings will come right over the top of this little nest, say, just like that. Okay. There we go. That's the way he looks. Using the side of the brush, you know, take the brush and make it very chiseled. You see that sharp edge on it? And you can push with that chiseled edge and it will actually leave color on there that will draw the wing feathers. Okay? Pretty cool. Okay, now we've got the birds like this. They're looking pretty good. Let's take that liner again. We're going to take some more of this brown and black, and we're going to come back to the eye line, which is a sleeping eye. He's just got his little eyes closed. He's just taking a little snooze, a little nap, you know, while the other bird is sitting there enjoying everything. And then we'll come up into the face and we're going to draw the little beak down. He's got a different angle than the other bird, which makes it much more exciting. And we will get this little beak going here. Get a little bit more oil if you need to. Brown and black. And we're going to take this little mouth line and bring that back into here. Okay. All right. Okay. To thin that down, we just take the wedge end of the wipeout tool. We come back in and just pull through that so that we can get that little line just right, so that he looks like he is dreaming about fresh worms. Paint the upper part of the nose right next to the down. It will be darker up there. Give it a little bit of something right here on the edge. And bring that back just a teeny bit. Just a little bit here. Soften that just a tad so that the bridge of the nose isn't too wide. And then come back to this little guy right on the tip of that nose. Sharpen up the tip end of the beak. Okay. Okay. Then we go underneath the beak and we put on the lower part of the beak. And get this little bit of dark underneath the chin. Then we take the wipeout tool and just sharpen that up just a little bit. And put that smile line back in there. Sometimes that gets disturbed when we're doing these little things. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so it really, you know, it takes a bit of time to do these little guys because you got to keep looking at it and you want to stop, if you want to stop and do some of these things, it's a good idea because if you don't, you may forget about some of the things that you were doing. Now, we'll come back in here, put the nostril in. Here's the little nostril. We will now take in this area over the eye. We're going to take some more brown with the black and more brown because we want it to be more brown than black. We'll come into the eye socket back in here and we'll start to make this eye have a little indentation right here at the corner. And we'll do the same thing over here. Makes his little eye look like he's sleeping. Then we will take the soft brush, the little brush, our little number 2, and we will just soften that eye a little bit so that it isn't too harsh. We want it to be soft. Okay. And then bring that color back into the beak just a little bit so we can soften the eye. There's our little baby bird. Also, you have to understand that because he's turned a little bit, he's going to have a little bit of a jowl line right here that's going to show. We will soften that a little bit so that it becomes more light. and then bring a little bit of the brown underneath his chin, right back in here. Just like that. Okay. Soften it away. After you've cleaned out your brush a little bit, you want to soften that away just a little bit because you don't want it to be too harsh. You want it to be soft. Very, very soft. This is a baby bird, and we want him to be soft. Okay? All right. Okay. Here's our little bird. This is the way he looks right now. Now we've got the nest. We're going to take a larger brush and paint the nest in. We need more brown. And we're going to bring that color around the nest. Make it irregular. Don't make it real straight because a nest is not meant to be really straight. You can even use the flatter side of the brush, you know, when you get your chisel edge out there, and leave some of the yellow showing through. Okay? All right. Here we go. Here's some of the nest right here. And don't worry about the angles of the brush too much, but when you do an angle, you'll be doing a side stroke where you will be making a jab at it, you know, like regular sticks that are in a nest. You know, that's what they do. They just cross over each other. So you're going to kind of make this nest like so. Fun, huh? Ah, this is so fun. I love doing these things. These are really fun. Now we've got this angle right here where we've got this other bird that is coming into this his little wing is coming into this nest. So what we're going to do is turn him upside down like this so that we can get underneath that wing. And we can go just like this. Okay, now turn him around. Here he is. Isn't he cute? He's having so much fun. Almost as much fun as we are painting him. Okay, now we just, we're going to come up into the nest this way and kind of bring that in like so. Remember, this is a nest, so you're going to be painting it all different directions so that you can get everything on that nest that you need to get on it, because you don't have to paint it over and over and over again. It's more fun to paint something else. All right. How about that? Is that fun or what? Well, his little branch, the little branches were put in on first fire, and I will show you how we do those little branches right now, okay? Ignore this part right in here where the branches come together. You've made the branch so that you have something that is holding the weight of the nest and the babies, okay? And it doesn't matter that they are not real detailed. you've got enough of a branch to show the branch. What you need to do is get a side stroke. And you're going to pull that side stroke and around the branch, like so. Okay, let's take another look at that. Here's our branch, and we're going to go like so. We're just going to pull a little side stroke so that we get this rounded stroke as if the branch was sitting there and you're just painting this branch. Okay, here's your branch. All right. If you want to detail it a little bit more, you can take a smaller brush, come in there with this smaller brush. You can darken this area right underneath this nest and work that color right into the finish. A branch is not necessarily meant to be something that is really smooth either. It has a texture to it, and it just continues to move on. Now, when you get it to this point, it's coming off the piece. So what you can do is take your sponge and just sponge it a little bit so that it softens into the background. Then you can take your wipeout tool. You can come back to the edge of this thing and reshape this branch so that it looks a little different. It has a little bit more shape to it. And you can leave some of the yellow showing if you wish. But this way, you get this all cleaned off of the edge. And it starts to fade away because it's coming towards you and it's just kind of obliterated by the perspective of it. Okay? We're going to do this. You're going to see the enhanced texture of the bark that is on the bottom. Also, you can take your tool, your wipeout tool. Boy, what would we do without a wipeout tool, huh? All right, we can take this part of the branch right here, and you can make little marks in that gives it even more texture if you wish. This one looks like it has a little knot forming right here. Okay? It's just kind of fun. You know, you can play with it, you know, until you get what you want. Here's the next branch. We'll come in again. We're going to repeat the same thing over here. We're going to pull this thing around this branch like so. And there it is. Pull it through the grasses so that you'll see it a little bit in the grasses and all that kind of thing. There you go. Fun. Really fun. Up here we have more of it, of the branch and so forth, but you know, you get the idea. The whole thing is you want to get this going, okay? You can put a little bit of color in behind this. This way you can see how all of the down fits into the background. Pick out a nice color, a real nice life-giving color. A little bit of deep blue green or sultan or something like that. You know, you can put that, take that and put it in the background. You can put a greenish color in there if you want a more greenish color. Shading green is nice. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Come right up next to your birds with the brush. You got a nice chiseled edge here. You can bring it right in there. And then leave a space before you even get to the yellow. Okay? Don't paint right up next to the yellow. Yellow doesn't mix well with other colors in a lot of cases. And quite often it can make a mess out of your paint. Just paint right up to the edge and leave a little white around it. The white will enhance the look of the down. It will make it downier. So if you want a little down, if you want a little more down, all you have to do is paint around the edge of this and leave that little halo of light. See that little halo of light right there? You can see it right here. And right here, you can see a little space right here where the halo of light is forming. As I said, sometimes it's better to underpaint. It's always bad to overpaint. Okay. There they are. Now you can see them a lot better. And putting in a little background on this fire is a good idea. You don't have to put a lot of background in. All right. If you're afraid to get too close to the beak because you'll mess it up, then don't. Stay away from it. Avoid it. You don't need to paint the entire thing all the way around the head and all that kind of stuff. Just paint enough so that you can find your bird and know where you're going with your subject matter. Leave your beak alone. Stay away from the beak. Just get really close, but not right on top of that beak. If you have to leave a little bit of white around the beak, then leave a little bit of white so that you don't mess up the beak. The features of the face, I cannot tell you enough about working the features of the face, because you can make a mess out of your painting just by touching one little section of the face. The face is the most important part. So don't mess with it. Just stay away from it. Just put a little bit of blue on, blue-green, and your painting comes alive. It's worth it to take extra time than it is to make a mess out of it and have to destroy it. Because quite often that's what happens. And nobody wants to have to break a piece. But if it's a really bad piece, you don't really want to look at it either. Okay. Okay. Even a little sponging doesn't hurt. And if you think that you're getting too close, you can always push some of it out. And here are your little baby birds. Now all this that's on the edge, you want to sponge this, and you want to sponge it a little harder, because you want to fade that outside edge. If you're going to paint the whole thing, that's different. But if you're not, then you just want to fade it out by softly getting this soft and light on the edges so that you don't have a line. Okay? and then softer with the sponging as you move closer to the subject matter. And there you have it. This is good for second fire. To do any more would cause you a lot of anguish. It would be difficult for you to work with. So I recommend that you stop right about here and fire it. It's not worth it to go any further. Remember that birds, as I said, do not always have to be traced. Some birds need to be traced. If you're doing something like an eagle or an owl or something like that, their structure is such that quite often people don't want to draw them. They're intimidated by all the markings that they have and everything else. They need to know where everything is, and sometimes the shadows are intimidating as well. So you may have to work with that just a little bit. I've had lots of experience painting and drawing. If you've never had any experience painting and drawing and you want to get into China painting, it shouldn't deter you. You can do something this simple and give yourself more confidence so that you're ready to try to move on to the next thing. All right? I hope you've enjoyed painting this as much as I have enjoyed teaching you. I hope you'll have fun and just go on happy painting.